Hello, my name is Holden Kukazinski for Getting to Know You Project, and I'm here with
Guillermo.
Guillermo. So, Guillermo, I'll tell you 3 basic rules. Number 1, I cannot judge you for any reason. Number 2, if at any point you feel uncomfortable with the topic, please let me know and we will cease it immediately. And number 3, if you wish for me to interject at all, please feel free to ask.
Yeah.
Understand? All right. So, just go ahead, Guillermo, and just go ahead and tell me about yourself.
Honestly, I don't know, man. You know what? Like, I started off trying to get on a better diet, and I ain't gonna lie, man. Going from 280 to about 250 right now, and dude, that shit sucks. Oh, my bad. I don't
You're
know.
all good. You're all good.
It's kind of like I don't know, man. It's interesting. You know, just this is my first semester here at UNM. I've been at CNM for about a good old 2 years. And then now I transferred here. It's interesting, you know, you just see more people, they're more interactive and stuff. And it's just kind of odd. It's like whole new and different, you know? It's interesting. And I like that, you know? I especially like the part where, like, you know, I'm a cheap ass, you know, I don't want to pay $180 for a semester or a year. So I pay $40 down at CNM and I walk all the way to CNM to here. So, yeah, it's been interesting, man. Computer science major, but I low-key just want to get into film. Well, try and do it as a minor, but I'm trying to kind of gauge from this class if I should do a double major. What is interjection again?
So, interjection basically means like I cut in and say something. Like that's essentially what it means.
Oh, interjection.
So, I'll ask you this then, I'll ask you now. I want to start more pertaining into the grassroots. I want to kind of know what made you. Let's take you back all the way back.
Well,
as far as you can go.
I was dropped on the head a couple of times when I was little, I ain't gonna lie. You know? And I appreciate that. I feel like it gives me a bit of my charm. You know, I'm Mexican, but when I was a baby, my dad used to take me to the Thailand market and tell the ladies at the register that he adopted me. That way he can get a discount. You know, when I hear that now, I think it's funny, you know? It's hilarious, man. And yeah, you know what? I grew up with my dad. Like, my birth mom, she exists, you know, she got my phone number, I got her phone number, but my dad, that was like a big part of me growing up, I ain't gonna lie. You know, he used to show me a lot of movies, he basically kind of built me up, you know. He made me, and I look up to him a lot. So, I guess that's kind of the grassroots version of me. Kind of an asshole, but I'm like a necessary asshole. Just like how people say there's an evil, but like a necessary evil. But at least I'm a little bit charming, you know? So, interjection, I guess.
So, you told me your dad essentially raised you. What was it like living with your father first?
It was the best, you know. Looking back at it now, we struggled, but man, he was an amazing parent. You know, looking at it from a kid's perspective, it didn't even seem like we were struggling. But now that I'm an adult, you know, we did struggle. Like, when I was little, there was a time whenever we used to bake a lot in the house. And it was like that for a good while. And at the time, it was just fun, you know, from cakes and desserts to just food. And now looking back at it, the reason why we baked for a good while, I think about a week or two, was because of the fact that the heat got cut. I think it was the heater, the gas got cut. And, you know, we used the oven to warm the house. So from a kid's perspective, it's kind of like, oh, it's so cool you're using an oven. When looking back at it now, it's just like, damn, we're just trying to be warm. So he really was a good parent. Because there were times that I look back and when I was little, I didn't realize we were struggling. But we were. And I hope to kind of have that same optimism that he has in life that I got. You know, hope to have it spread to others.
So, I want to ask you, because you mentioned how you were, quote unquote, a necessary asshole. So I wanna get more into the details of that. What made you consider yourself a necessary asshole?
Kind of a smart ass, man. You know, I'm not a bully. You know, in fact, I hate bullies. But like, I kind of Captain Obvious. Like, I kind of, you know, people say I'm a little honest, and it kind of comes off a little bit as rude, but it kind of comes off as a little mean. But I try not to make it mean. It's just kind of a natural reaction. It's just kind of like a tick that I got. I can control it, but like sometimes it just kind of pops out, man. You know. So, I somehow that a lot of people in my life I attracted from me just having that tick. It's weird. Even talking stages, man. Like somehow, like I got their attention with that, but I don't know. That's about it.
So, I want to ask you, just to keep diving deeper as much as I can.
Yeah.
Because I like hearing life stories a lot. But I want to hear, what was your most favorite memory of all that you can think of?
You know, there's two that I can think of on the top of my mind. You know, I grew up here in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and then just growing up here, you're surrounded by dirt. Yeah, you get the occasional snow and rain, but I grew up in the International District, and it's kind of rough. And, you know, being surrounded by dirt and all, I remember the first time I saw the ocean. I was in middle school, and it was in California, in Venice Beach, and I didn't even pack swimming trunks or anything like that. I had jeans, I had Jordans on, and a t-shirt. And then I saw the ocean for the first time, and man, it was beautiful, man. And you know, me being in middle school, like, I felt like an urge to just get in there, and I wanted to get in there, man. So I remember just running into the fucking ocean and just with my Jordans on, with my jeans, you know, and ruining those clothes. And my dad telling me, like, hey, if you run in there, I'm not, you know, you're going to freeze your ass off, but I'm going to laugh at you for it or something like that. Or like, and the point is like, you know, if you get cold, that's on you. But I just did it anyways, and it was the most exhilarating feeling ever. And, you know, after that, it was cold. And my dad bought me a jacket. It was an overpriced tourist jacket, but you know, I still got it. You know, the zipper's broken, you know, but I still got it in my closet. And then it was towards the end, you know, last year, that in July, I decided to go with my buddy Jacob to Oregon. And the thing is too, is like, you know, growing up around here, you don't really see a lot of green. Sure, there's green everywhere. You go down to the Bosque, you go down to Jemez, or just anywhere in New Mexico, you'll find green, you know. But like, if you like, I saw some real green out there in Oregon, man. Just trees, just the plant life. It was beautiful. I drove here from about midnight in Albuquerque, picking my buddy up from the airport, and then driving all the way to Portland. Getting there around 11 p.m. I think it was like a 21 hour drive. It was insane. We didn't stop for hotels because we were kind of cheap asses, man. And we fucked up with the Airbnb. We told them we'd be there within the 24 hours. So we were on it, man. We were just, you know, we passed through Colorado, Utah, Idaho, and then we finally got to Oregon. And like, we stopped for like a good old 10 minutes in each of those states or anything that stuck out, just so we can kind of take it in. And it was beautiful, man, just being all of the states at once. And in fact, I think I almost fell asleep on the wheel because I was the only one driving. I drove consistently. And fun fact, around that day, I woke up like around 4 in the morning, and then I think I was awake for more than 24 hours, I believe, for that whole drive. It was fun. And you know, we get there, and you know, we get to Portland. It's a whole different life. You know, Albuquerque, it's so diverse, but like, you get to Portland, and you know, people actually interact. You know, in fact, we went to go see Powell's Books. It's one, it's one of the largest used bookstores in the world, I believe. And outside there was a guy who used to write poetry. Well, no, he wrote poetry for you. You paid him a certain amount, and he'd give you options for like the card stock, and he'd ask you questions about what you want the poem to be about. What do you want it to be about yourself, or is it for someone? So I did it for my dad, and I think it was a good old $5-10, and it was fun. And then from there, we went to go see Cannon Beach. Fun fact, I didn't even know that's where the Goonies was filmed. But I kid you not, man, when I saw that beach, the weather, the clouds, and all that green, the trees, man, it was exhilarating. And I didn't run in there like last time when I was in middle school. Instead, I took my shoes off and put them next to my brother as he took a nap against the log. And then I fucking rolled up my jeans like that, and I just walked towards like the water, and I dipped my feet in the water, and I believe I cried because I just felt free. And I was listening to a certain song. I think it was Diary by Frank Ocean. It's not an official song by him. I believe it was a snippet, but like somehow someone out there went and like did some stuff to like make it sound like it was a full song. And I was listening to that, and it just kind of fit the moment, and it just made me think about all the struggles that I went through, just to get here, because it's tough. And the fact that I was even able to make that trip at all, it was beautiful. And I think at the time, that was the happiest I ever was. And I think that's what made me decide to kind of leave here. When I hopefully, get a good job, I want to get out. Anywhere else in the country or in the world, I'll take it. As long as it's livable, as long as I got a roof over my head, I got a good income going, and just for me to go on and about and just mess around and explore the environment around me, I'm all for it, man, because that's just how we meet new people. I always love to meet new people. You just create a connection with them. Someone that can just be like, hey, what are you listening to, man? Or like, hey, what movie did you watch? Or like what food do you recommend me? Because I know jack shit about this area. I don't even know what's good. Because honestly, me being a tourist and all, like, what place is gonna fuck me over with the prices compared to what place is like gonna actually give me some good, decent food, like some real charm. And I'm all about that. So I want to get out of here and just go somewhere, where I don't know anybody and nobody know me, and just have that freedom. I desire that freedom, honestly, because for the longest time I used to confuse freedom with independence. So I don't even know if I want that true freedom. I think I just want to balance both freedom and independence, because there is a difference between those two. Being independent, that means you can pay your own bills. You got your own place. You're standing up on your own. But at the same time, that isn't the same thing as freedom. Whereas freedom, you don't let anything hold you back. And it can range from like just people all the way to like a job. So kind of like a beach bum. So I kind of want to sway balance between those two, honestly, because honestly, I'm 22, man. I don't even know what I want from my life. But all I know is I just want to be happy. That's my goal.
So, I noticed two of your favorite memories was going to the beach.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask, because you mentioned as well that you grew up around dirt.
Yeah.
So, do you, because I'm thinking I'm seeing a connection, because to me it sounds like, because you grew up around dirt, the lack of water, you went to go see the water, and that's why it was such a big experience. Because if you don't mind me interjecting,
yeah, no problem.
I've always grown around the water.
Yeah.
I'm actually from Maryland. I've been to Ocean City, I've been to the Atlantic plenty of times, but I've often found myself liking it here because desert, it's something new, something exciting. Like how you're excited to see all the green in Oregon. I think, do you find that the lack thereof of green or water here in the state of New Mexico and Albuquerque made it such a more heartfelt experience?
I think what it is like, it's a tough environment around here. I don't know if you noticed, but like when you're out in public, there's no in between. You either get the nicest people or the biggest assholes, man. Like they'll just, they got their chest up, or like they get all offended. You hear the Albuquerque lingo, and that's just how it is. And I've grown up around here, and you always gotta have that shield up, that barrier up. But when I went out there and I went outside of the state, I didn't really have to put that shield up at all. I didn't even have that barrier up. I felt loose, like just calm. There's this thing called the Albuquerque stare, or the Albuquerque walk. You're walking and then you sometimes you do a glance back, see what's behind you. But when I was doing, and I don't know, it's just out of habit. Me and my buddy Jacob do that. And when we were out in Oregon, it kind of felt weird that we were doing that. And we just kind of let that go. We didn't really worry much. We didn't worry about like, hey, what are you looking at? Or just like anybody giving attitude. It was just peaceful. We didn't give attitude. And in fact, it was the opposite. People came up to us and they were trying to be open with us. It was just connection. So I really just kind of yearned for that friendliness a little bit. And maybe just, work on that tick that I got where I could just be the opposite, kind of change that tick.
So, you mentioned a barrier, you said, and letting go of that barrier. I'm very thankful that you got to experience dropping your barriers, because I feel like we all have some sort of barrier for ourselves. So, if you don't mind me asking, how did that barrier come to be? What formed it?
I'm just checking the time.
I got you.
I think this might be my last one because I got you. Walk back to my car on the way to CNN. But, honestly, I kind of, I'm kind of in denial about it. But my dad says I kind of grew up rough and, it wasn't easy. But I don't like to think so because I think, my dad really sheltered me from all that, the bad stuff. But, that doesn't mean that I didn't experience some things my dad protected me, but it was just like stuff from my birth mother, that hurt him and I. And, my dad really just took the brutal hit of that. And, sometimes some of it slips through and it hit me a little bit. And, that's, my dad says, like, my family says I'm kind of in denial about it, just like, in the struggle, They say I struggle, but I don't like to think so because they really did a lot for me. It made me who I am.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah,
I appreciate your time. Would you like to say anything else to the camera before you take your leave?
Keep your pants dry, your dreams wet, stay excellent.
All right, thank you, Guillermo.
Yeah, no
I appreciate
problem.
it.